It is clear the Cowboys have to shake things up against the New York Giants on Thursday Night Football because something has to get better for this team. And even though the Giants look like an easy quote-unquote opponent and the Cowboys are road favorites by over 5 points, there's no easy game right now for the Cowboys until they prove otherwise. How can they do that? By changing things up. And that's what we'll discuss on tonight's A to Z Sports Dallas Primetime. The Cowboys play the Giants tomorrow, Thursday Night Football. It's been a fun, short week, I assume, for Cowboys Nation. Obviously, I say that sarcastically, but I'll be honest with you. It's a positive that the Cowboys, at least for the fan base, that the Cowboys play a game so quickly because these have been a long few 10 days, right? So I'm excited about the Cowboys playing football tomorrow, and I wanted to discuss with you what can be different for Dallas when they step on that field. And I'm going to go through a list of things that I've got here. Number one is just abandon the run game. That is, hey, I know that doesn't sound like a very coach-esque solution, but I'm just going to say abandon the run game entirely, bro. It is not working for you. Now, granted, some teams have been able to run on the Giants pretty efficiently. I think they were 30th in adjusted line yards, something like that, defensively speaking. So you can run on the Giants, but I don't want the Cowboys to go into MetLife Stadium thinking we can figure the run game out in a short week versus the Giants because they don't have the dudes to stop us. And by the way, I'm not sure how I feel about running into Dexter Lawrence at all because we saw nose tackle Travis Jones for the Ravens whoop the Cowboys offensive line, and I'm not sure the Cowboys are going to want to run outside in the first place. So if they want to run the ball, I'm assuming it's going to be right up the gut, and that means going up against Dexter Lawrence, arguably the best defensive lineman in the entire NFL, at least when talking about the interior guys. So I'm not into that plan at all. I'm not into the whole idea of let's get the run game right in this game. I need the win, and in order to do so, I would much rather bet on a passing game that has shown flashes that it can be impressive still. The play calling can be better. The route concepts can be better. I get all that. But ultimately, I would much rather bet on Dak Prescott and CeeDee Lamb and Jake Ferguson riding the chip over on a mediocre run game that has been mediocre since at least last year. And it's lacked some thunder. It's lacked some outside runs. It's lacked some change-ups, right? It's always the same. Mike McCarthy said that, hey, it's a short week. The worst thing you can do is to focus on what happened the weekend prior. So I'm not expecting big changes on the way that the Cowboys do things schematically heading into this one. Now, having said that, the Cowboys got another reason to throw the football on Thursday Night Football, right? Today, because the injury reports came out. These are the final injury reports. And the Giants don't have starting nickel cornerback Andrew Phillips, but they also don't have backup nickel cornerback Adoree Jackson. So it's basically the third stringer for the Giants, or they're more likely going to have to change things up, shuffle the secondary around, because CeeDee Lamb is likely going to be playing a lot inside, right? So we're going to see a whole lot of CeeDee Lamb versus I don't know who, honestly, and the Cowboys have to take advantage of that mismatch. I just think one of the biggest ways to change things up is for the Cowboys to really just approach this from a we're just going to sling the football around approach and just have some fun with it. Now, there are some concerns about rainy weather at MetLife, and I understand that might be a factor, but even if it's raining, I would much rather lean into the passing game. There's a lot of evidence out there that indicates that the true weather factor that can slow down or deter a passing attack is high winds, usually above the 15 miles per hour landmark. So I'm just going to bet on the Cowboys passing game for this one. I think they need to come into this game thinking they can exploit that, thinking they can handle the pass rush for the Giants, which is not necessarily going to be easy. We talked about Brian Burns. We talked about Dexter Lawrence. They've got Kayvon Thibodeau on the other side of the defensive line. So it's not going to be easy, but get in there with a good game plan to get the ball on CeeDee's hands and just try to exploit that weaknesses, at least in my opinion. Now, speaking of the passing game, if you ask me what can the Cowboys do, not schematically, but on a personal front on offense, one of my biggest takeaways from the Ravens game, honestly, give Hunter Lipke more snaps, man. At this point, I am a full believer. I've been a Hunter Lipke believer for a good while now. Whenever they started talking about cross-training Hunter Lipke and giving him some tight end reps, I was a little bit skeptical just because there's not many Kyle Juszczyk type fullbacks in the NFL. But how about Hunter Lipke just going on a corner route versus the Ravens, beating his man, and just going straight up, completely wide open in the corner route, making the catch downfield. We saw some of those flashes in Oxnard when the Cowboys were in training camp. So I'm a believer on Hunter Lipke, the versatile tight end. Give me a Taysom Hill minus the quarterback snaps prototype in Hunter Lipke. I want to see more of him. He outsnapped Luke Schoonmaker on Sunday versus the Ravens, which obviously has a lot to do with Lipke playing tight end and in the backfield. But I think Lipke, there's some room there to really, really raise the amount of snaps that he's playing for two reasons. Why? He can play tight end. He's shown that at this point, right? He can be an inline blocker, and he can go and run routes, and he can be trusted as a pass catcher. That alone, man, makes me excited about Hunter Lipke. But did you also notice late in the game versus the Ravens, the Cowboys got to score points, they got to move the ball. Who was pass protecting alongside Dak Prescott when that game was going on and when the Cowboys were in obvious passing situations? It wasn't Ezekiel Elliott, who a lot of people claim to be one of the best pass blockers in the NFL out of the running back position, even though it's been a few years since he has been truly elite at that. Hunter Lipke was the chosen one by the Cowboys coaching staff to handle those responsibilities when the Cowboys absolutely needed him to, and he delivered. He was actually fantastic as a pass protector for Dak Prescott in the passing game. So just those two kind of like faces to Hunter's game, to me, makes him worthy of more snaps. And you know what? Give him some handoffs as well, right? Like, you could make him a truly versatile weapon. You just got to involve him now in the running game. I want to see more of Hunter Lipke, in other words. And I think that's one of the things that we could ask for the Cowboys to shake things up. Now, staying with the offense a little bit here, give me some more tempo. The Cowboys looked great when they were going on tempo, and it just makes sense, right? When you're going on tempo, your quarterback better have command of your offense, and that's what makes Dak Prescott so great, is that he really owns the offense. We've heard Aaron Rodgers praise him for it. We've heard Tom Brady praise him for it. All of these old school quarterbacks are like, there's not many guys that play the quarterback position like Dak does. And that really benefits you when you can go on tempo and use that against defenses and kind of remove the coaching element of it a little bit and just be like, the players on the field, we are better than you are. That's a big part of going on tempo and using that speed on the field. But the Cowboys are not using that until they're so behind in the game that they got to be in the 2-minute drill since the third quarter, as Mike McCarthy expressed to reporters earlier this week. But give me, hell, if you win the coin toss and you want to do the whole receiving thing again versus the Giants, just like you did versus the Ravens, I want to see your first 15 plays be a tempo, right? I want to see the Cowboys be like, all right, we're going to go on the hurry-up offense and really hurt you passing the football, because that's what worked the best against the Ravens defense. And don't tell me that the Ravens, it was garbage time, the Ravens were playing prevent defense, because none of that is true. The Ravens never left their usual cover 3, cover 4 coverages, cover 1. They were playing legit defense. The game was not over, right? So this was not a garbage time stats pathing on the Cowboys. They were legitimately moving the field down the field, and a lot of it happened when they started going fast, when they started using tempo. It is not viable, in my opinion, to assume a team in the NFL is going to play tempo all the time, just because that is very different from college, right? College teams are likelier to do it, but that doesn't happen in the NFL. However, you can have 2 or 3 drives that you have pre-designed, to put it one way, and be like, all right, right off the bat, we're just going to go tempo on you or if I get the ball in the second half, my first drive out of the third quarter, it's going to be tempo, right? I want to see some of that in the Cowboys moving forward, because that to me seems like some of the best moments that we've seen from the Cowboys offense. That makes me turn the page to the defense. And here's the thing. I'm not sure how much you can do defensively, because I don't know how many changes you can make on a personnel level or on a what coverages are we playing level, what schemes are we running. Ultimately, I think with the defense, I would like to see some different alignments, right? If you cannot stop the outside runs, go 5-1, just like when the Patriots stopped the Sean McVay Rams in the Super Bowl and Big Fangio did so before the Patriots. Like, run a different front, do something at this point. But I'm not sure how much of that we can bet on a short week when the Cowboys just played on Sunday. I don't know how much they can change things up when they've got a game immediately on Thursday. So the only note that I've got here on my notebook is, Juan J. Thomas, should he play more? I know it's a conversation that Cowboys Nation has been having. I don't know exactly how to feel about it, because Donovan Wilson has some interesting traits that could make you think of him as a Harrison Smith for Mike Zimmer's defense, but the focus has not been there for Donovan Wilson in a lot of these plays. So I'm open to just trying some things out, right? Donovan Wilson completely abandoned his gap on a particular play when Derrick Henry stiff-armed Kalen Carson, just completely abandoned his gap, and that led to a big game from Derrick Henry. There was another play in coverage that you see him just be a coverage bust for Dallas. The same in the Saints game. There were a lot of those moments, right? Malik Hooker and Dono got burned by Derek Carr and Raheem Shaheed. To be fair, that was an absolute dime from Carr, though. But I'm open to seeing some personnel shakeups here from Mike Zimmer and be like, Juan J. Thomas, you're pretty damn good. I'll give you a chance to stay with this job. I don't know if that will come in week 4, but it might. Just thinking about what the Cowboys can do to shake things up. I have a tough time envisioning that in the linebacker room, in the cornerback room. I don't see it happening in the defensive line either. Something has to happen, though, and I'm wondering, could Juan J. Thomas be the guy that gets an opportunity after 3 weeks of struggles from the Cowboys defense? More accurately, 2 weeks, because they didn't struggle week 1 versus the Cleveland Browns. But anyways, you get my point. Ladies and gentlemen, thanks so much for tuning in, man. I know you're nervous. I'm nervous too. Cowboys should be nervous. Cowboys Giants tomorrow night. Make sure you tap in. Got you covered on ADC Sports with some coverage, and I'll see you on Sunday here on Primetime.